Hi guys, I just want to say first, thanks again for joining me for another video, and I hope you guys are somewhere safe and that you weren't harmed by all the storms that passed through the south last night, that you're healthy and as happy as can be in the present situation and circumstances. What I wanted to share with you today is a very basic and easy to do meditation. First off, this is a meditation based on alchemical principles, alchemy. But when people think of meditation, they usually think meditation is one thing. You know, either it's watching your thoughts, or it's just sitting doing nothing, or they think of it as like this really strained concentration. And for me to be honest, those kinds of meditations never really did very much for me. I always got incredibly bored with them. I lost interest really fast, and I didn't experience a great deal of any sort of change within myself or within my consciousness or anything else while I was doing those kinds of meditations. For me, and this is what draws me to magic so much, for me what really works the most is doing some sort of energy work and coupling it with visualization. So this meditation uses visualization and energy work as well as our breath. So it's really dynamic. It's not just sitting there and concentrating on nothing. What this models internally, there are 7 stages in the alchemical process. Whenever you are taking something, whether it's an herb or whether it's a stone or whether it's a metal, and you're putting it through the process of alchemy where you are purifying it. With every stage, what you're seeking to do is rid it of more and more impurities, all the way until you get up to the phase called distillation. In the distillation phase, what you are doing is taking let me back up for a second. You start off with calcination. In calcination, what you're doing is using fire to reduce, let's say you're using an herb of some sort, you use fire to reduce the herb down to its purest essential salts. And that will be a very fine, powdery white ash. There will be nothing left in it but ash. And this is called the essential salts. What you've done is remove a great deal of the impurities, the initial impurities from the herb. You take this salt and then you put it in some sort of fluid for at least what they call an alchemical month, which is 40 days, sometimes longer. It depends on what sort of fluid you're using and what process you're putting it through. But you take that essential salts and you put it in water, and for the next 40 days, you do invocations for whatever planetary energy that you're working with. Say it's an herb that corresponds to Venus, then for the next 40 days you would do invocations of the energy of Venus and pull in as much of that energy as you possibly can, and then push it into the product that you're working with, the water and the salts. Over a period of about 40 days, what happens is the fluid draws even more of the essence out of the salts. Whenever you do finally get up to the distillation process, in distillation, and this can be done in a couple of different ways. You know, you've probably seen these old alchemical posters or prints or drawings where you'll have a magician or a couple of magicians working with this huge distiller. When you're distilling something, what you're doing, and you don't need one of these big fancy things when you're doing this. You can also do it with just a pot with a top on top of the stove. But what they're doing is you are evaporating and condensing the fluid that has the essence of the salts in it. You're evaporating it and condensing it over and over and over. If you do this, say just put it in a pot on the stove and let it cook at a low temperature. You want to have it at a low temperature that doesn't fluctuate. It has to stay at the same rate the entire time. And you put a top on the pot. What you're doing as this fluid heats up is the water evaporates, goes up to the top, condenses on the top, and then drips back down into the pot. So you've got this cycle happening. It evaporates, it condenses, it drips back down. Evaporates, condenses, and drips back down. And it's a process that's happening over and over and over. Well, every time the water evaporates, that is going, what that symbolizes is the fluid is going from a material level of existence up into a more refined, or what we would think of as spiritual form of existence. So it's going from the world, the physical world, it evaporates and enters the spiritual. Whenever it condenses, it drips back down into the physical. So what you're doing when it's going through this process is you are sending it from the physical to the spiritual, back to the physical over and over and over again. Every single time it enters that spiritual realm, it becomes more and more purified. So that whenever it does return back to the physical realm, it brings some of what it collected in the spiritual realm with it back to the earth. So the way this looks whenever we do it to ourselves on an internal way, a friend told me this meditation one time, and whenever he told me this, it's so simple and so easy, but it's at the same time, it's completely genius, because what you're doing is mimicking that alchemical process just with visualization and breathing exercises. So you want to envision that you have a white sphere of light about 12 inches in diameter resting on the crown of your head. Just envision it being so brilliant, bright white that you can't even look into it. It's blindingly bright white. And you just inhale a few times, and every time you inhale, you see it glowing brighter and brighter and brighter. Next, you envision the exact same thing, only black, a black sphere of light at your feet. And you can do this either standing straight up with your arms at your sides, or you can do it laying flat down on the ground. You've got a black sphere of light at your feet and a white sphere of light at your head. What the white sphere of light at your head represents is your higher self, the part of you that is divinity, that always has been and always will be connected to the source of creation, your higher self, the part of you that is divine. The part at your feet represents your lower self, what we call your ego. So what you're going to do is focus on the black sphere at your feet and either lay down or stand straight up while you're doing it. And every time you inhale, you're going to see that black sphere at your feet travel up the right side of your body, all the way up the right side of your head, until it reaches the white sphere at the top of your head, where it goes into it. It merges. As you inhale, the black sphere travels up. When it merges, you hold your breath to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you exhale, and the black sphere will continue. As you exhale, it will leave the white sphere and continue down the left side of your body, all the way down to your feet, back to where it was. You're going to do this over and over and over, at least 5 or 6 times, preferably 10. The trick is, every time your ego, every time your small self merges with the white sphere at your head, whenever it comes out, it's going to be a lighter and lighter and lighter color. So say, for example, the sphere at your feet, the first time it's black. As it makes a rotation, it's a lighter color black. The next round, it merges. As it comes back down, it's a dark gray. Inhale and bring it back up. It merges. As you exhale and it goes back down, it's a really light pearl gray. You keep doing that over and over and over, making the black sphere lighter and lighter colored every time it makes a rotation, until eventually it is as pristine and white as the one at the top of your head. This is mimicking with your internal energies. When you're visualizing, you're telling your internal energies what to do, because your subconscious and your unconscious mind does not speak in language. It communicates through images, through symbols, and you're telling it what to do with this symbol by symbolizing this process. Eventually what happens is what you're doing through this process is purifying your ego, purifying your small self, until it eventually is the same as your higher self. And then at the end of this process, you function as your higher self in this world. Okay, guys, I'm going to keep this short and not ramble on today. I hope you are doing well. I hope you are all safe. I love you guys. Thank you for being with me. If you want to find more, you can find me on Patreon, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.